Hello and welcome to At Home in Iowa City. I'm your host, Katie Roche, and I'm here today with Officer Joy Bailey, who is the Crime Prevention Officer for the City of Iowa City. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's been a little while since we've sat down and talked.
It has.
And I imagine you've been being kept very busy, so could you refresh our viewers as to what your position is as a crime prevention officer?
Sure.
And tell us a little bit of what you've been up to lately.
Sure. Well, the most recent thing is the substation. We actually have implemented the substation on the southeast side. It's located at 1067 Highway 6 East. Okay. And much of my duties over the last few months have been getting that up and running, as well as my usual crime prevention community relations duties within the department. Most recently being the Citizens Police Academy that we started on the 24th of January.
Now tell us a little bit about the Citizens Police Academy.
Well, it's actually a county-wide organization or county-wide event hosted by the 4 major law enforcement agencies in the county. We have 11 weeks of curriculum, which basically walks through being a police officer, how you become a police officer, and then all of the various elements of a police department.
Well, now, are these people who might want to become police officers and they're exploring the profession, or they just have a general interest in crime prevention? Or
we have a wide gamut of patrons who participate in the academy. We do have some younger students who are, high school age who participate because they may be interested in law enforcement, all the way up to elderly individuals who are just interested in finding out more about law enforcement in the area.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about this new gun law. Mm-hmm. Every media source out there has been talking about this because it's been a little controversial. Mm-hmm. To sort of summarize it, the gun law changed, and whereas the county sheriff, had more discretion in deciding who could be allowed to carry a weapon, now we're called a carry state. Is that mm-hmm. correct? And any law-abiding citizen is allowed to carry a concealed or openly carry a weapon, which is quite different than before. Before, if you'd seen someone walking down the street carrying a gun in your hand, I probably would call the police, but now it's legal. So how do you think this law is going to affect Iowa City?
Well, first of all, citizens who would like to carry a weapon or carry a gun have to still obtain a permit from the sheriff. The sheriff gives those permits out and has, like you said, a few different regulations now, and I won't speak to those, but the changes I think that we're going to see in Iowa City is obviously, as the sheriff has mentioned, there's been more applicants for those permits. With more applicants come more carrying individuals. And with more people carrying weapons, there's going to be more citizens out there who witness this and may be concerned with it and may call local law enforcement to come and check it out. So that's how it's going to affect the police department.
Now, it's kind of common sense to think that if you are a property owner or a business owner, that you should be allowed to prohibit someone from carrying a weapon mm-hmm. on your property. But some people have said that the lawmakers actually left that part of the law a little bit too ambiguous, and they need mm-hmm. to revisit it, go back and define it better. And looks like some of that work might get done. But mm-hmm. What is actually the rights of a property owner? Well,
it's actually fairly clear as far as, just like prior to this law change, trespassing. Property owners, property managers have the right to prohibit whoever they want to from coming onto their property. I say to look at it like you have the right to prohibit whoever you wish from coming onto your residential property. Same with a business. So business owners, property owners have the right to prohibit anybody from coming onto their property that they wish for whatever reason.
Okay, well that's good to know. Another aspect of the law that's really been hotly contested is the fact that people can carry the weapons openly mm-hmm. or concealed. Now, a lot of people compare this to the Old West, though in the Old West, if you carried a concealed weapon, you were a criminal, and if you carried it openly, you were a law-abiding mm-hmm. citizen. But we're not used to seeing people carrying weapons openly. Do you think that we're going to see that in Iowa City? Like downtown, Friday night concert series, somebody sitting there with a gun in their lap mm-hmm. watching the show. Do you think we'll see that?
I think it certainly is a possibility. I think it's important to understand, first of all, that the majority of gun owners and those who obtain a permit to carry a gun are responsible. They're able to make good decisions and use their best discretion in making those decisions. And the majority of the people who have those permits are not going to be carrying a gun deholstered or out in plain view. Although it is their ability to carry one that's in plain view, within their rights, I should say, I think the majority of gun owners or those with permits are not going to be carrying them out within plain view because they know that public reaction is not going to be so well received.
Right. And how they carry that weapon, if they're waving it around,
right,
walking
right.
down the street,
right.
I mean, that's obviously a threatening behavior. Right. And so if someone sees someone carrying a weapon mm-hmm. in a threatening way, or carrying a rifle, mm-hmm. you know, mounted right. to shoot, you might want to report something like that.
Right, right.
Okay.
There are you know, several laws that cover you know, carrying weapons in threatening manners, or carrying a weapon just out in their hand, because not only is it you know, not wise as far as public reaction, but also it's not safe to carry a deholstered weapon just out in public. And like I said, the majority of those permit holders and those weapon owners or gun owners are going to make the right decision.
Well, let's switch gears again, mm-hmm. and let's talk a little bit about the 21 ordinance. Of course, you know, the 21 ordinance stood mm-hmm. in November, and it was not turned over, so it's still in effect. And how have you seen the ordinance affect Iowa City?
Well, it's still pretty early mm-hmm. in the ordinance, so it's pretty early to pull out total statistics on the ordinance and its effect. Some of the early changes that we have seen are in the alcohol-related offenses, and in particular, alcohol-related offenses for those under 21. You know, the possession of alcohol, the OWIs, those things, public intoxes, those violations for individuals who are under age 21 have shown a decrease. Okay,
that was the hope mm-hmm. of the ordinance. A number of establishments have kind of changed the way they operate. I noticed right. that some of the happy hours have been moved forward before that 10 mm-hmm. o'clock, and a couple places have closed. But mm-hmm. But it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds when we have a couple years of statistics under our belts to take a
right.
look at it.
Right.
Another ordinance is the Curfew Ordinance, and I wondered how much enforcement has had to happen with that, because when we first talked about the Curfew Ordinance, you know, that was another controversial issue. People were concerned that it wouldn't be evenly mm-hmm. applied, and you confirmed no, this is going to be evenly applied, just like mm-hmm. any law. Has it been enforced? Have we had to call it up and use it?
Minimally. Actually, the Curfew Ordinance hasn't been used all that often. In the majority of cases where a juvenile was cited with a curfew violation, there was usually another violation out there. Mm. I give the example of a couple juveniles who were committing burglaries. Mm. They were also cited with the curfew violation, and that's the case in the majority of the violations or citations for those violations. There were and have been several warnings issued, but I don't think it's been used nearly as often as maybe the public would have expected. And our most recent numbers on 2010 show almost a 50% decrease in our juvenile-related complaints over 2009.
Okay, well that's
yeah.
great. Well, let's talk a little bit about this new substation mm-hmm. where you have your office now. Mm-hmm. What is the purpose of the substation?
Well, aside from the unspoken portion, which is the presence in a relatively high call for service area for police, fire, ambulance, etc. That presence, like I said, is kind of the unspoken for area businesses and residences. Goes a long way for improving perception of crime in the area. The substation also provides a new workspace for officers who work in our beat area 2, which is south of Highway 6. It enables those officers to stay centrally located within their area that they're working without having to come downtown to complete paperwork, things like that, which also increases or decreases response time to issues in their area. Aside from that, the substation offers a conference room meeting area for the public, for nonprofits or community groups who wish to use it. We have a seating space of 22, and it greatly increased my office size as well, which I don't like to brag about, but I do enjoy a little bit. And it puts me right in an area that I do a lot of work. So.
That's great. And as a crime prevention officer, part of your duties are to be out there right. on the street, meeting people, making
right.
sure that people have contact with the local police department, and understand what services are offered. And
that's correct. Yeah. I do have to be kind of out there and meeting people, like you said, building relationships. I don't necessarily have to. That was one of my goals that I set when I started this position, and I think that building relationships between the police department and the community goes a long ways towards increasing or improving perception, as well as improving future interactions with the police.
Well, thanks so much for such a good talk today, and
You're welcome.
We'll be sure to have you back on and get some more updates on everything. And,
okay,
and
I appreciate it.
Good luck with everything. Thanks.
Thank you.
It has been reported to the Iowa City Police Department that since late January, 4 of the north side street markers have been stolen. The street markers sit atop the street signs at the intersections of streets in the historic North Side Neighborhood District. Since the street markers were installed approximately 7 years ago, 5 have gone missing, but never several in a short period of time, as in this case. The markers were funded through the City of Iowa City's Public Arts Program and cost an estimated $600 each to replace, plus the cost of replacing the street signs and posts. Iowa City Area Crime Stoppers is offering a reward of up to $1,000 for information leading to the arrest of this suspect or suspects. Anyone with information about this crime is urged to contact Crime Stoppers at 358-TIPS. All calls are held in strict confidence and you will remain anonymous. Individuals providing information do not have to reveal their identity to collect a reward.
Welcome back to At Home in Iowa City. I'm joined in the studio by Kelly McCann, Director of Communications for the Iowa City Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So everyone hears the name Chamber of Commerce. They may not necessarily know what it is, or they think, oh, it has something to do with business, I think. So what is the Chamber of Commerce and what do you do?
Well, the Chamber of Commerce, the Iowa City Area Chamber of Commerce, we actively foster a better business environment through community and economic development and public policy advocacy on the local, state, and federal level. What people probably most know us for is we connect and educate members. So we serve as a clearinghouse for not only our members to access resources, but also the community to access resources. So we have a lot of community inquiries or people coming by to seek out information about the area as well.
So the chamber would have like a networking event where they would get the membership together, and what happens at these networking events? What kind of information is being exchanged that's vital to that improvement of business?
Well, our networking events are an efficient way to meet a lot of people. So you could go to a party or something, but if you go to the Chamber's business networking events, you're guaranteed to meet like-minded people who also want to move their business forward and the community forward. So you might find a vendor for a product that you need, or a service provider, or you might find a new client. So they're very beneficial to attend.
So how many members does the Iowa City Area Chamber of Commerce have?
Well, we are the only chamber in Johnson County, so we serve 1,000 member businesses that are small to mid-size, and also some of the major employers. And we serve members in Coralville, Iowa City, North Liberty, Solon, Tiffin, and we even have a few members in Cedar Rapids.
Wow. So I've been familiar with the chamber over the years, and you'll see the chamber out at a business opening, cutting a ribbon. Those are some of the more sort of public things that members of the chamber will participate in. But how do members within the chamber actually work to improve business in Iowa City and the area?
We have, one of our programs is the Community Leadership Programs. It's been around for over 20 years now, and it's really an asset to our community. It's a program in which members can learn about the kind of the behind the scenes of Johnson County. So they study economics and the human services aspect of Johnson County, and it really empowers them to be informed. There are some people who've gone through the program who've lived in Iowa City, the Iowa City area their whole lives, and they learn something new that they didn't already know. And with that information, they can take it and become better community stewards and better business people, because they're more educated on what it takes to make Johnson County function and how they play a role in that. That's one of our really popular programs that members participate in. behind the scenes at the Chamber, we're working on moving the community forward through programs like Buy Here, which is an initiative to strengthen the economy by recirculating money in Johnson County. So we encourage the whole community to buy local and to support local businesses. We try to encourage people to buy as close to home as possible. So if it's not available right here immediately in Johnson County, then try Lynn County. If it's not available in Lynn County, try at least within the state. So that, to date, our program has shifted $6 million back into Johnson County that would have been lost outside of the area.
So instead of going on Zappos.com to buy a pair of shoes, maybe
go to Active Endeavors.
Go to Active Endeavors. You can still look on Zappos and get an idea what you want, and then go into Active Endeavors and buy that pair of shoes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we all know, that's a huge movement nationally, and it has great implications not only for improving business, but for helping out the environment. Small businesses, of course, benefit greatly from that practice. So that's wonderful to know that that's some of the advocacy work done in the Chamber.
Yeah.
The Chamber is also doing advocacy work on the state level. And one of the big projects that has gotten a lot of attention is this passenger rail, specifically from Iowa City to Chicago, though obviously that rail system is larger than that.
Sure.
Now, under exiting Governor Culver, it looked like that package was really going to get a lot of support. Of course, there was a big shift in the elected officials here in the state, and now we've got Governor Branstad, and he has said, I'm going to take a closer look at this. I'm not sure if this is something that I want to approve. So what is the Chamber doing to help bring the passenger rail here and working to convince the new governor that we should have this passenger rail?
Well, the Chamber adopted passenger rail as one of its strategic initiatives back in 2009 because we feel it's a really important project for the state. So the Chamber is is attracted to the fact that rail provides a significant return on your investment. It will create jobs and it will create economic activity, which in today's economy is really important. Governor Branstad has been supportive of rail, although we think that it is important for him to research and make sure that this is something that will work for the state. And what we're educating people on is the fact that Iowa can't afford to be complacent. We have to position ourselves as progressive, and our population is not growing to the same extent as our national counterparts. And we have to make sure that we position ourselves to be able to attract workers and also the employers who seek out destinations that attract workers. And young people in particular, young professionals are attracted to areas in which they have access to a large urban center like Chicago and transportation options. So rail can fulfill those things. And right now, it's important to take advantage of this project because we're leveraging $20 million that the state allocated for rail, plus Illinois' share, which is $60 million. So we'll have a tiny portion of the expense to receive a $230 million federal grant. And right now, times are tough for individuals, and people are being very strategic about their budgets. But if someone were to tell you you could generate an 80% return on your investment, you'd probably find a way to make it work. And this is an 80-20 match, and so it's advantageous for us to take rail seriously right now. And gas prices are going up, so having an alternative mode of transportation is important.
As Governor Branstad has looked more closely at this rail issue, some of the issues, some of the facts that have come out of it, I found to be really interesting. The travel time is pretty close to driving time, but the thing is that you're a passenger. So that's time to work, that's time to care for your children, it's time to at leisure time.
To be productive.
To be productive,
yes,
exactly. Instead of texting while driving.
Yes, exactly. You can, be working on your laptop and making productive use of that time. Or, like you said, if you have small kids, you don't have to be distracted with them in the back seat. You can, enjoy a trip there. And it is also convenient because it arrives in Union Station, downtown Chicago, so you don't have to worry about finding a place to park or congestion on 80. You're dropped off in downtown Chicago, and then from there you have access to other modes of transportation to get you where you need to go.
And when they started looking at, what ticket prices would be, it sounded really affordable.
Especially with the price of gas going up,
yeah.
so I think it'll be competitive for sure.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. The window of opportunity is right here now. So,
and one of the other reasons that rail is attractive is because the City of Iowa City and the University of Iowa have significant plans to expand the area near the historic depot south of Burlington. And so with those two projects and the revitalization of passenger rail, it could really create a new gateway into Iowa City, which would be very big for our area.
Yeah, and there's so much focus on developing that end of town and that old depot. I have a soft spot for that old depot. It's, there's something romantic about the trains and that little old train station sitting there. There's been a lot of businesses that have been run out of there over the years, but it's sad that there's this infrastructure of the train system in this country, and it's not carrying passengers as much as it could be. So I don't know. We'll be keeping our eye on it.
Well, the Chamber is working diligently to make sure we can revitalize rail from Iowa City to Chicago.
Well, I know you have the support of the City of Iowa City on this project. So
definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about a totally different area of travel. The Chamber is sponsoring a travel event to India. Now it's called the Escape to India, and I know registrations are already closed, but I just found this interesting that the Chamber would do some international traveling to talk about international business. Can you talk a little bit about that trip?
Sure.
And also talk a little bit about why studying international business is important to an organization that's focusing on business right here at home.
Well, the Chamber, it's important for us to seek feedback from members. So we stay in constant contact with them through member calls and focus groups. And when we surveyed members to develop, some strategic initiatives, we found that there was indeed interest in, competing in the global business environment. And so we, one of the critical parts to conducting business overseas is understanding the culture. So the Chamber's international trips really serve as a cost-effective and organized introduction to the foreign cultures of emerging markets. And our trip last year, we went to China. It was so successful that we decided to go to take some travelers abroad again, but this time to India. And while most of our focus is on the local level, we feel it's important to respond to the needs of members, and with an interest in competing globally and exploring opportunity beyond our state and even our country, we felt like we could provide access to that.
Well, it sounds like a really amazing trip.
I think it'll be very fun. My colleague's going, Nicole.
Oh, that's a little. I would have been disappointed. I would have had my hand in the air right
Take
away.
Turns.
So, perhaps there's someone watching the show right now who would be interested in becoming a member of the Chamber. What would you say to encourage them to join up?
Well, the Chamber really provides unique access to other businesses, individuals, and programs. Through participation in the Chamber, you can, make money by establishing business contacts and by marketing to specific target audiences. You can save time by networking with people more efficiently and meeting more people in less amount of time. And you can really build community by supporting economic growth. So there's, our member organizations have different reasons for joining the Chamber. Some of them philosophically believe that joining the Chamber makes you a good community steward, and because you support the work of what the Chamber does, even though you might not necessarily attend an event, it's still a great idea to have an investment in the Chamber. And other members seek out networking opportunities like we discussed earlier, and some other members take advantage of our educational opportunities. We have a variety of seminars, and there is so much expertise in the Chamber. If you think about the convergence of all of these different types of businesses coming together, I mean, it's a wealth of information. If you need help building a website, we know somebody who can do that. If you need someone to, decorate your office, we know somebody who can do that. So there's, that unique access of people and knowledge that you wouldn't access anywhere else is really important. And there's actually been a survey or a a study done that shows that when consumers know that a business is a member of the Chamber of Commerce, they're 63% more likely to patronize that business in the future. So I think that's, shows that it's an important investment.
And usually, someone has something on their door that shows that they're a member. So
yeah, a decal. So
yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. We've been wanting to have the chamber on.
I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah. So
and if people want to learn more about any of our initiatives or membership, they can visit iowacityaarea.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Iowa City is Iowa City is Iowa City is Iowa City is Iowa City